Alright, so I posted a little video earlier of doing the Mirror Mine challenge with the texture glitch, and I'd been playing around with some adjusted minus 50% sensitivity. I'm still not sure if I need to go to minus 60, but I'd also been playing around with some other settings on the autopilot that have been still hit or miss for me. I kind of glossed over one in cutting some of the earlier video, and one of the commenters kind of called it out. So I wanted to highlight that and show that at least with the TBM, it does work some of the time. So what I've got is a simple flight from Colorado Springs over the Air Force Academy, up around Denver, and then we'll come into Rocky Mountain Metropolitan. I still call it Jeffco Airport. That's the old name for it, but it's a pretty short flight. Shouldn't take us too long to complete this. I've tried to set the weather to be fairly calm. We'll see if that actually happens. It never seems to want to work. This also called out something in the nav log where I want to just edit some of these because I want to go over the Air Force Academy and I want to go over Denver at different altitudes, not necessarily 9,000 feet. So you can come in here and you can set this up to be a little more specific to what you want and how you want to have some fun with it, but the problem is I can't actually edit these events. Now there's probably a setting where I've got it set to doing a lot of this automatically, and that's fine. But anyway, there's a number of things I haven't really dug into yet again. Casual play, unfortunately. So let's jump in and actually see what this does for us. And hopefully, fingers crossed on this attempt, we'll have a functioning autopilot so I can show more so what you can actually do and enjoy with the autopilot functioning. You do have the AI pilot that you can set within the contextual menu up at the top, or the overlay menu, whatever it is, but I don't want the thing taking full control from me. I still want to have to do some aspects of flying the airplane. That's what I'd like to be able to do anyway. So the other comment that I mentioned earlier, and I've seen a number of posts on some of the original videos that are getting the most traction, but I wanted to call it out as many places as possible, is the Rudder Control does have an access option, but the problem is the controller has two triggers. It's not a single axis, so we need to have two rudder axis options, one for left rudder, one for right rudder, since there's no singular axis that we can configure to it. That, or through drivers, they need to register the triggers as a complete left-right axis. The way I've got it done now is I've mapped the left trigger, no particular reason, to that rudder axis, and so the left trigger actually functions. I have proper left rudder. However, I don't have left rudder sensitivity. But it does work fairly well, and you can feather it pretty decently. It's a little too sensitive for my taste, but it does work. However, that leaves me with the right rudder set to continue just to be the button on-off. So I can kind of tap it a little bit to get some control from it, but unfortunately I can't get the whole thing functioning. Alright, now normally I would set up to do a pushback and power up, but at the moment we're really just concerned with, does the autopilot work? Let me zoom this out a little bit. There we go. Alright, so let's go back inside here and let's see what our settings are. Now I'm sure somewhere, ooh, sorry about that, I always forget to disengage that. Somewhere in the nav computer there's going to be an option where I can actually go in and set my altitude, get in here and configure all of this stuff. But again, at the moment, casual, I do not know where all that is. So what I'm going to do is, I'm already sitting at 6,000 feet. Well, there's a few things that I can do. My cruise altitude I think is 9,000 that I set, so I'm going to go ahead and set this to, see, I'm already at 6,100, so I need to get up high enough for the Air Force Academy, so I'm going to set this to 8,000. That's only 2,000 feet up. Let's set it to 8,500 and I'll cruise at 10,000. So I'm going to set that up. Heading is easy enough to pick, provided that the entire dash is not wiggling around in horrible winds. But we'll see what happens. I may have to use the level option. I found that to be quite handy. However, that usually resets some of my settings. So we'll see what happens here. Alright, the other thing I usually need to do is preset my trims to be a little more on the negative side. We got flaps down, we got parking brakes on. Alright, let's take off and get this thing going. Alright, we are out of here. Okay. It shouldn't be very far. Ooh, gotta pay attention. It's not too far to the Air Force Academy. See, look at that little bit of left rudder there. That's beautiful. It is windy. I don't like that. Too much. Let's roll back and get airborne. Okay. Up and down seems fine. Left and right seems a little twitchy still. Flaps off. Boy, we getting a crosswind on this. Overcompensating. Alright, so what we want to do first, let's get the heading on. Let's engage autopilot. Where's my yaw dampers? Let's get that on, shut you up, set heading, go. Altitude hold at 7,000. Alright. So, the way to go up is we want to set my altitude. Colorado Springs Tower Day or Alpha Sierra 8,500. And we're going to hit vertical, and we're going to increase the vertical speed. You can see here's my little indicator for vertical speed, and it's actually working this time. That's great. This is the second time through. So now we're actually climbing. What's my speed? I need to dial back my engine speed a bit here. Let's pull it in at 78. Alright, now because we are so far back, we need to get on heading. So we're going to turn my heading around. Copy Dayer Golf Sierra Alpha. Alright, so we're still pretty low. Colorado Springs approach Dayer Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace. And then we'll catch my heading when I get there. Okay, there we go. So we're climbing up here. Let's set my altitude to 8,600, and now we can come out and see where we are here in Colorado Springs. I don't remember exactly where I-25 is. I think that might be it that we're about to go over. 124.0 Dayer Golf Sierra Alpha. So we are flying on autopilot much more properly. I probably would have gone the other way, but anyway, again, we're just showing that the thing can work. This is my second attempt at this. So airspeed above. Now it's to reduce airspeed. We're going to basically fly over the airport, which isn't quite right. Air Force Academy is probably going to be up there in the mountains. I've been there a couple of times. Yeah, it's going to be right on the front range. There. Going to 120. Just fine. You can see my altitude. Sorry, I got to remember I'm on multiple runners, so let's get this stuff lined up. So my speed's there, altitude's coming in nicely. You can see it's blinking now. And VS has gone off and altitude hold has taken over again. So we're on track and we're good. Heading is alright. Let's aim a bit to the left now. And get more in line with where we need to go. And we'll follow our waypoint. Now, we're not super high up off the ground again. We're only about 2,000 feet up. So I think we are probably going to have to aim up a little bit as we're heading towards the mountains. But we want to do a low pass over the Air Force Academy for visual fun. And we'll angle a bit to the side of it. So I think we're doing just fine. Ah, shoot. Oh, whatever, fine. We're going to take my current heading, which is what? It's 325. See, this is where it starts having problems because I'm trying to get this little arrow to hit, and if you don't do it just right, you end up pushing the wrong button and it gets all haywire on me. Alright, so we're 8,600. We're flying pretty low. See, it's still really windy out, even though I turned all that off. Wish they would get that stuff taken care of. Mountains look beautiful. Pikes Peak's out there somewhere. Right there, probably. Very likely. NORAD's over there somewhere. Okay, let's dial the throttle back a little bit here. We're at cruise. Gonna do this at higher speed. Ooh, we got an airplane coming in. Neato. Alright, this is my concern. I don't want to be too close to the ground when we get to this. Should have a runway. I should actually be seeing it fairly soon. I think it's already there. See how detailed it is. There it is. I did it right. I had it like I thought. So I guess we'll just make a pass right over it. And then I'll change my heading to head off to our next waypoint up there. Go from CAF to CO93 to Denver. We'll make a loop around Denver, and that loop will bring us out and around and into Rocky Mountain. We're doing just fine. Alright, so there's the airport. The academy is up in the hills there. So let's angle my heading if I can catch it. A little bit to the left. Let's get the altitude already up to 9,400. Actually, we're going to aim up to 12,000. Here we go. So there's the airport, the academy, somewhat there. I should see the funky church. There's the stadium. More of the academy all there. We need to head farther to the left here. This could be a bit of a tight run. Surprised I got the full-size stadium. Cool. Not a lot of parking. Golf course, and there's the stuff I recognize. Yeah, leave me alone, tooltip. So you get the cool chapel there. We're gonna aim right at the mountains, marching fields, visitor center. Neat place. Cool little tour for my virtual passengers. Let's do the pause thing real quick and see if I can zoom this sucker in. Ooh, that's a bit far. So that's pretty detailed. I like that. That looks pretty good. I don't like how it sounds like it's getting windier. It's a really neat chapel. Grounds don't look quite flat in all areas, but hey, that's alright. Okay, yeah, that wind is kind of terrifying. Let's get you back out to 32 for me to fly. Alright, now let's come out of that. Okay, whoa, 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 that was not cool. Holy crap, we're gonna crash. Jeez. So, that's real-time fun. That's another break in the autopilot, and that's what I was afraid of. I was calling out the wind sounds. So all I did was I hit the soft pause, which pauses the airplane. but according to autopilot, it was still moving and flying and then going crazy because the plane wasn't moving. So when I released pause, it went haywire, and you probably couldn't see it, but my trim level had gone to 94% positive rate, which was all wrong, so I had no control over my elevators properly in the direction I needed to pull up. And I didn't have a way to quickly catch onto that and fly the plane back up. So that's a bit of a poo on that one. That's very annoying and depressing, and that happens a lot. So that is another glitch with both pause and autopilot. Normally I should have just been able to unpause and fly properly onwards, so I'm going to kind of cheat in order to get back to where I was. I don't like doing that. We'll take off and then just kind of zip around in lame-o fashion, and then we'll get everything re-kajiggered. Alright, so I used slew to get back up here. I'm pretty close to the same altitude at 8,500. Speed's a little off. I'm just giving it a second to render in, and then we'll take slew off and hopefully not careen to our death. There we go. I don't know why my flaps were still down, but we're good to go now. Alright, so what we need to do here... I don't know what you're freaking out about. Whatever. Turn on you, turn on you. Turn on the altitude. Come on now. Okay, we're holding at altitude 900. Let's turn heading on. And now we're going to turn forward heading. Alright, so let's get my altitude back up to 1200. Sorry, 12,000.
Frequency change approved Dayer Golf
Vertical
Sierra
speed.
Alpha. Denver Center Dayer Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf
I'm gonna need
Sierra
to throttle
Alpha is
down
Type Dayer
here soon,
TBM
I
98
bet.
miles northwest of U.S. Air Force Academy. Request flight following. Dayer Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra
Alright, so this should get me back onto my waypoint.
Squawk 0446 Dayer Golf Sierra Alpha.
Alright, so on our way up and out of here, there's big old Pikes Peak. Okay.
Copy Dayer Golf Sierra Alpha.
Soon we're gonna need to make our turn. Not sure exactly how far we're gonna head, but we're getting up to our altitude, which is good. We'll come back down when we get to Denver. Let's begin our heading change. So we can slot in here pretty nicely. RPM's a little high, that's alright. I don't have speed control on, but because I'm climbing right now, maintain good stable power on my climb rate. Good, that'll slot us in nice and smoothly.
Make straight in runway 30 right there. Go
Alright, so
Sierra
I'm
Alpha.
going the wrong way on that. I can see the airport out there in front of me, kind of above the dash. We're going to come down to 8800. Down at that speed, I need to throttle back quickly. There we go, there's the Denver Metroplex. Denver Metro area, I guess is what it's called. I'm going to deviate just a little bit from my flight plan so that I can come off to the left side of it and make a right sweeping turn around it. 30 right. Okay. Little bit too much altitude here. Let's fix the trims so that I'm not aimed straight down at the ground here. There we go. Alright, I'm going to need to keep throttle up because I'm going to need to engage flaps here in a minute. Flaps to land. Plane will recover. I'm way too high. That's a little better. Okay. Airspeed problematic. Let's throttle up a little bit here. Oh, these controls are so jittery. I feel like I'm flying a stunt plane or something. Alright, happy shows I'm in the green. I'm all over the stinking place here. Oh my gosh, wind on top of me overcompensating. Okay, there we go. We're low, but I don't care. Come on, pull up flare. Okay, not bad. Alright, so I'm going to end it here. Let me put the parking brakes back on. We actually made it to our airport. I didn't crash. It wasn't my best landing by any means, but that's kind of what the autopilot's supposed to do. You saw another glitch where it kind of freaked out and crashed. There are days where, or flights where it just won't register my heading settings. The vertical airspeed didn't take. Altitude doesn't respond. There's a number of different things that just don't seem to want to work right consistently. Rudder control is the biggest one. I think I'm going to drop the sensitivity down to probably minus 65 at this point, because you saw how jittery it was coming in, and some of that is me not having full control of my plane. Again, see, right rudder's on or not, whereas the left rudder, so right rudder, that's just me barely pulling it, and you can see it just triggers the full press. Left side, look at that, I'm barely pulling it. That's full. So I actually have full articulation of the left rudder, as I said, but that's what it's supposed to do. That was a fun little flight from Colorado Springs to Rocky Mountain, Jeffco, whatever the heck they call this thing now. Autopilot does function, it's just not consistent, and there's still some other issues with it, as you saw with the pause one. That was one I had not anticipated, and this was my second attempt. Thankfully, the third attempt actually worked as well when we crashed after the pause menu, but it does work. That's kind of how to use it, so thank you to the commenter for calling out that in the video I showed I didn't actually use the vertical speed indicator. Yeah. Let's keep complaining to Microsoft, and hopefully they get some of these crippling issues fixed, and we can continue to enjoy the game. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.